Welcome to our deep dive into 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be extracting the most impactful ideas
Okay.
from this startup Bible. And we'll unpack some pretty counterintuitive concepts along the way.
Yeah, Thiel doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah.
He really goes after some of the most deeply held beliefs about how the world works, especially when it comes to building successful companies.
Yeah. One of the things that really jumped out at me was his take on globalization versus technology.
Right.
It seems like he's saying that while everyone's focused on globalization, it's actually technology that is the real driver of progress.
That's right. He believes that true progress comes from creating new things, not just copying what already exists.
Right.
He uses the example of China copying the West to illustrate this point.
Yeah.
Without fundamental technological innovation, that kind of globalization just replicates the same problems we've already seen, just on a larger scale.
So it's not enough to just spread existing ideas and technologies around the globe.
Right.
We need to be creating entirely new things. That's where his idea of 0 to 1 comes in.
Exactly. It's about those groundbreaking innovations that fundamentally change the way we live and work.
Right.
Think about the invention of the internet or the smartphone.
Yeah.
Those were 0 to 1 moments.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Thiel argues that competition, which we're often told is the engine of innovation,
Right.
is actually a detriment.
Yeah.
He says competition destroys profits and ultimately stifles progress.
It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But think about it. In a hyper-competitive market, everyone's fighting for scraps, and there's little incentive to take big risks or invest in long-term innovation.
But wouldn't less competition lead to higher prices and fewer choices for consumers?
Thiel would argue that the opposite is true.
Okay.
He believes that creative monopolies, the ones built on truly innovative products and services, are actually good for consumers in the long run.
Okay.
They have the resources and the incentive to keep innovating and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
He uses Google and Apple as examples.
Mm-hmm.
Companies that became dominant by creating products and services so good that they became the default choice.
Exactly. They didn't just win the existing game. They created a whole new game, one that ultimately benefited consumers with more choices and better products.
But isn't there a risk that these creative monopolies become complacent and stop innovating once they achieve dominance?
Yeah.
What keeps them from just resting on their laurels?
Thiel argues that the best creative monopolies are driven by a deep desire to keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
They're not content with simply maintaining their position. They want to keep creating new things and expanding into new markets.
Right.
Think about Amazon. They started with books, but they've continually expanded into new areas driven by a relentless pursuit of growth and innovation.
So it's not just about building a monopoly.
Right.
It's about building a monopoly that's constantly evolving and pushing the envelope.
Right. And that's why Thiel believes that the last mover advantage is often more valuable than being the first to market.
This is a fascinating concept. It seems like everyone's always trying to be the first to market with a new product or service, but Thiel is saying it's often better to be the last mover.
Right.
The one who comes in and dominates a market after others have paved the way.
Think about Amazon. Again, they weren't the first online bookstore.
Right.
But they came in with a better model and eventually dominated the market.
So the takeaway here is that sometimes it's better to be patient and observe what others are doing before jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding that niche, mastering it, and then scaling up from there.
Exactly. It's a much more deliberate approach, one that prioritizes long-term dominance over short-term gains.
This makes me think about how often I get caught up in the frenzy of trying to be first without really taking the time to think things through strategically.
Right.
It's really a powerful reminder to slow down and think about the long game.
Absolutely. And it leads us to another one of Thiel's key ideas.
Okay.
His rejection of the lottery ticket mentality when it comes to success.
You mean the idea that success is just a matter of luck?
Right. Thiel believes that while luck certainly plays a role, it's not the determining factor. He argues that success is about what he calls definite optimism.
Okay.
Which means having a concrete vision of the future and taking action to make it happen.
So it's not just about hoping for the best.
Right.
It's about having a plan and working towards it deliberately.
Exactly. And this contrasts sharply with the indefinite thinking he sees all around us, where people just kind of drift along hoping for the best, but not really planning for anything specific.
He sees this indefinite thinking in everything from education to finance, where the focus is on keeping options open rather than setting clear goals and working towards them.
Right. And he argues that this kind of thinking leads to a culture of complacency and risk aversion, where people are afraid to commit to a specific vision or to take bold action to achieve it.
So if success is not just about luck and it's not about indefinite thinking,
right,
what is it about?
Thiel believes it's about uncovering secrets. He believes there are still valuable truths hidden in plain sight waiting to be discovered.
This idea of secrets really intrigues me. What kinds of secrets are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are these like hidden formulas or secret societies?
Not necessarily. He's talking about valuable insights that are often overlooked or dismissed because they challenge conventional wisdom.
He even gives us some questions to help us uncover these secrets.
Yeah.
What are people not allowed to talk about? What seems obvious but might actually be wrong?
These questions can be applied to any field or industry.
Yeah.
They force us to think critically and to look beyond the surface to find the hidden truths that others might be missing.
It's like those optical illusions where you have to look at things from a different angle to see the hidden image.
Exactly. And Thiel believes that those who are able to uncover these secrets are the ones who are most likely to build truly successful companies and create real value in the world.
So it's not just about working hard or being smart. It's about seeing the world differently, about finding those hidden truths that others miss. This leads us to Thiel's own experience building PayPal and the legendary PayPal mafia that came out of it.
What's so fascinating about the PayPal story is that it wasn't just about building a successful company.
Right.
It was about building a company with a unique culture that fostered innovation and collaboration.
He talks about how he deliberately sought to hire people who would enjoy working together, people who shared a common vision, and who were willing to challenge each other's ideas.
He understood that building a great company wasn't just about assembling a group of talented individuals. It was about creating a culture where those individuals could thrive and work together to achieve something truly extraordinary.
This brings us to another one of Thiel's key insights, the importance of sales. He argues that even the best products need a solid distribution strategy to succeed.
That's right. He believes that sales is often overlooked, especially in the tech world, where there's a myth that great products will sell themselves.
I've definitely fallen into that trap myself, thinking that if I just build something great, people will automatically flock to it. But Thiel is saying that's not enough.
He's not talking about being pushy or manipulative. He's talking about being able to effectively communicate the value of what you're creating and persuade others to see the potential in your vision.
This makes me think about all the times I've been influenced by clever marketing. Without even realizing it, we are all constantly being sold to, whether we're aware of it or not.
And Thiel believes that being able to master the art of persuasion is essential for building a successful company, no matter how groundbreaking your product or service might be.
It's not just about building something great. It's about getting it in front of the right people and convincing them that it's something they need in their lives.
Exactly. And that leads us to another fascinating topic.
Okay.
Thiel's perspective on the relationship between humans and computers. He has a very specific view on the future of technology and what it means for humanity.
Okay, let's unpack that in part 2.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. In part 1, we explored some of Thiel's core ideas about innovation, competition, and building successful companies.
Now, I'm curious to hear what Thiel has to say about the role of humans in a world that's becoming increasingly automated.
Right.
Is artificial intelligence going to make humans obsolete?
Thiel offers a more nuanced perspective than that.
Okay.
He believes that computers are ultimately tools that can enhance human capabilities, not replace them entirely.
So rather than a battle between humans and machines, he sees it as a partnership.
Exactly. He uses the term complementarity to describe this relationship.
Okay.
Arguing that computers are good at different things than humans. He believes that by combining our strengths, we can achieve far more than we could alone.
He uses the example of PayPal's early struggles with credit card fraud to illustrate this point, right?
Yeah, remember how PayPal was losing millions of dollars to fraudsters?
Yeah.
They initially tried to combat this with algorithms designed to automatically detect and block fraudulent transactions.
But the fraudsters kept finding ways to outsmart the algorithms.
Exactly. It was a classic case of an arms race between humans and machines.
Right.
And the machines were losing.
So how did they solve this problem? Did they just give up and accept the losses?
No, they came up with a very clever solution. They created a hybrid system where computers would flag the most suspicious transactions, and then human analysts would review those transactions and make the final call.
That makes a lot of sense. Computers are great at processing massive amounts of data and spotting patterns.
Right.
but they lack the intuition and judgment that humans bring to the table.
Exactly. They called the system Igor. And it was incredibly successful, not only saving the company millions of dollars, but also helping them turn their first profit.
It's a great example of how combining human intelligence with the power of computers can lead to a solution that's better than either could achieve on their own.
And it's the foundation of Palantir, the data analytics company that Thiel co-founded, which uses a similar human-computer partnership to tackle complex problems like terrorism and financial fraud.
It seems like this idea of complementarity has huge implications not just for the tech industry, but for any field where humans and computers interact.
Absolutely. It suggests that the future of work isn't about being replaced by robots, but about finding ways to work alongside them, leveraging their strengths to enhance our own abilities.
Okay, so we've talked about technology competition and the role of humans in a world of increasing automation. Now I want to dive into another one of Thiel's intriguing ideas.
Yeah.
His view of founders as often being outsiders.
This is where Thiel really challenges the conventional wisdom about what it takes to be successful.
Okay.
He argues that the people who create truly groundbreaking companies are often those who don't quite fit in the ones who see the world differently.
He uses examples like Howard Hughes, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs, all incredibly successful individuals who were also known for being somewhat eccentric and unconventional.
Thiel sees a pattern here. He argues that to create something truly new, to go from 0 to 1, you almost have to be a little bit different, a little bit outside the mainstream. He uses a bell curve to illustrate his point, suggesting that most people fall somewhere in the middle, while founders tend to be out on the tails, those with more extreme traits and perspectives.
That makes sense. If you're just doing things the way everyone else does them, you're not going to create anything truly groundbreaking.
Exactly. And those extreme traits can be both a blessing and a curse for founders.
Yeah.
They can be the source of their unique vision and drive, but they can also lead to conflicts and challenges along the way. Think about Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
His intensity and perfectionism were legendary, but they also alienated some of the people around him.
So it's a double-edged sword. You need that outsider perspective to see things differently, but it can also make it harder to build and manage a successful company.
Thiel acknowledges this complexity. He points out that founders need to be aware of their own strengths and weaknesses and surround themselves with people who can complement their skills and perspectives.
And he's also careful to point out the dangers of founder worship.
Right.
Of blindly following a charismatic leader without questioning their decisions or challenging their authority.
That's right. He reminds us that even the most brilliant founders are still human, and that unchecked power can corrupt even the best of intentions.
This reminds me of something we talked about earlier, the importance of building a strong company culture.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not just about having a visionary leader, it's also about having a team that can challenge that leader and hold them accountable.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of open communication and constructive dissent where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas and challenging the status quo.
That's interesting. So it's not just about finding the right people, it's also about creating the right environment for them to thrive.
Absolutely. And this leads us to another one of Thiel's key insights.
Okay.
His claim that we are living in a world defined by the power law.
What does he mean by that?
He argues that many people tend to see the world as a normal distribution where most things are clustered around the average. But in reality, many phenomena, especially in the realm of business and technology, are governed by a power law distribution.
So instead of a bell curve where most things are evenly distributed, we have a long tail where a small number of outliers have a disproportionately large impact.
Think about the music industry.
Okay.
A handful of superstars sell millions of records while thousands of other artists struggle to make a living, or the world of startups.
Yeah.
A tiny percentage of companies become billion-dollar behemoths while the vast majority fail.
That makes sense. It's like the Pareto principle, the idea that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes.
Exactly. And Thiel argues that this power law dynamic is at play in almost every aspect of life, from wealth and income to influence and impact.
So how does this apply to building successful companies?
Thiel believes that understanding the power law is essential for making smart decisions about where to focus your time and resources. If you recognize that a small number of inputs are responsible for the majority of outputs, you can focus on identifying and investing in those high-impact areas.
So instead of trying to be good at everything, we should strive to be exceptional at a few key things.
Right.
It's about finding those areas where we can have a disproportionate impact and putting our energy and focus there.
Exactly, and this has major implications for everything from our careers to our investments. It encourages us to be more selective, to focus on quality over quantity, and to seek out those opportunities where we can truly make a difference.
It's a reminder that we can't be all things to all people. We need to focus our efforts on those areas where we have the greatest potential to excel.
Now let's shift gears and explore one of Thiel's most controversial ideas, his fascination with the concept of immortality.
This is where Thiel's thinking gets really interesting. He seems to believe that death is not an inevitability, but a problem to be solved.
Right. This is where Thiel's thinking ventures into the realm of transhumanism, the belief that technology can be used to overcome the limitations of our biology, including aging and death.
This is definitely a controversial topic, but I'm curious to hear what Thiel has to say about it. Is he talking about some kind of mystical fountain of youth? Or is he looking to science and technology to extend human lifespans?
Thiel is definitely a proponent of using science and technology to push the boundaries of human longevity. He sees the advancements being made in fields like biotechnology and artificial intelligence as potential pathways to significantly extending human lifespans and perhaps even achieving immortality.
Wow, that's a bold vision.
Yeah.
But isn't that a bit far-fetched?
Yeah.
We've been trying to conquer aging and death for centuries, and it seems like it's just part of the natural order of things.
Thiel would argue that our acceptance of death as inevitable is a form of complacency. He believes that we should be challenging that assumption and exploring every possible avenue to extend our lifespans and improve our health.
It's certainly a provocative idea. It makes you question your own assumptions about what's possible.
Thiel acknowledges that this goal might seem far-fetched, even outlandish to many people.
Yeah.
But he argues that it's precisely because it's so audacious, so outside the realm of conventional thinking that it's worth pursuing.
Right.
He believes that we should be striving for the seemingly impossible, pushing the boundaries of what we believe is achievable.
This reminds me of his concept of definite optimism. It's not just about hoping for a better future. It's about actively working to create that future, even if it seems improbable or even impossible.
Exactly. And Thiel believes that by embracing this mindset, we can achieve things that we never thought possible.
So how does Thiel's belief in immortality tie into his broader philosophy of startups and building the future?
It speaks to his fundamental belief in the power of human ingenuity to solve even the most challenging problems. If we can overcome death, what other seemingly impossible challenges might we be able to conquer?
It's an incredibly optimistic view of the future, one that suggests we have far more control over our destiny than we might realize.
Exactly. And it's this belief in our ability to shape the future that drives Thiel's entire philosophy.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of the deep dive. We explored Thiel's views on humans and computers, his fascinating insights on the founder archetype, the power law dynamic, and his controversial belief in the possibility of overcoming death.
In part 3, we'll connect all of this back to Thiel's core message, the importance of going from 0 to 1 of building companies and creating a future that is defined by genuine progress, not just incremental improvement. We'll explore how his ideas can be applied not just to the world of startups, but to a wide range of pursuits.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to wrapping things up and seeing the bigger picture. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into 0 to 1. We've been exploring Peter Thiel's unconventional ideas on startups, founders, and the future, covering everything from competition to immortality.
We've been on quite a journey, challenging a lot of assumptions about how the world works.
It's been quite a ride now. Let's bring it all together and connect these ideas back to Thiel's core message.
Okay.
The importance of going from 0 to 1.
Throughout the book, Thiel emphasizes the need to move beyond incremental progress and focus on creating something truly new.
Right.
He argues that this is the essence of true innovation, the only way to escape the trap of endless competition and build a future that is both more prosperous and more meaningful.
He seems to be saying that we've become too complacent with just making things a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
We've lost sight of the power of creating something entirely new, something that fundamentally changes the game.
Exactly. He uses the example of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment as periods of immense progress driven by a belief in the power of human ingenuity to transform the world.
Right.
He argues that we need to recapture that spirit of bold ambition and push beyond the limits of what we think is possible.
So what's holding us back? Why are we so stuck in this incremental mindset?
Thiel sees this complacency everywhere, from education systems that reward conformity to financial systems that prioritize short-term gains over long-term value creation.
Yeah.
He even critiques the modern environmental movement, arguing that it's become too focused on preserving the status quo instead of embracing technological solutions to create a genuinely sustainable future.
It's like we're afraid to dream big anymore. We've settled for incremental improvements instead of striving for those transformative leaps forward that can truly change the world.
That's a great way to put it. And Thiel believes it all starts with a shift in mindset. He challenges us to embrace what he calls definite optimism.
We talked about this concept earlier. It's not just about having a positive outlook. It's about having a concrete vision of the future and taking deliberate action to make it happen.
Right. It's about moving beyond the indefinite thinking that leads to paralysis and indecision.
Yeah.
It's about setting clear goals, making bold plans, and having the courage to act on those plans, even in the face of uncertainty and risk.
He also encourages us to question conventional wisdom, to challenge assumptions, and to seek out those hidden truths that can lead to breakthroughs. He wants us to ask ourselves, what a valuable company is nobody building? What important truth do very few people agree with you on?
These questions can be applied to any field, not just business.
Right.
They challenge us to think differently, to look beyond the obvious, and to consider possibilities that others might miss.
These questions really resonate with me. They make me think about how often I accept the status quo without really questioning it. It's a call to be more curious, more skeptical, and more willing to explore unconventional paths.
And remember, Thiel believes that progress comes from building, not just thinking. It's about taking action, experimenting, and learning from your mistakes.
He also emphasizes the importance of building strong teams. He reminds us that a company is more than just a collection of individuals working towards a profit.
Right.
It's a culture, a community, a group of people striving together to create something meaningful.
He highlights the importance of aligning people around a shared mission, fostering collaboration, and building a culture of trust and mutual respect.
This makes me reflect on my own experiences working on teams. The most successful teams I've been part of were the ones where everyone was passionate about the mission and felt like they were part of something bigger than themselves.
It's a powerful reminder that building a great company, or achieving any ambitious goal for that matter, is a team effort.
Another point Thiel makes that really resonated with me is his debunking of the myth that a great product will sell itself. He argues that even the best ideas need a solid distribution strategy to succeed.
He emphasizes the importance of understanding your target audience, crafting a compelling message, and finding the right channels to reach those who are most likely to value what you're offering.
It's not enough to just build something amazing. You also have to be able to effectively communicate the value of what you've created and persuade others to see the potential in your vision.
Exactly. And ultimately, that's what 0 to 1 is all about, challenging us to think differently, to embrace a more ambitious vision of what's possible, and to take action to build the future we want to see.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring these ideas with you. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on innovation, entrepreneurship, and the power of human ingenuity. So what does this all mean for our listener? If technology is the key to escaping the limitations of a finite world, what are the skills and mindsets we need to cultivate to thrive in this future? What unique value can you bring to the table?
Thiel doesn't offer easy answers to these questions. Instead, he provides a framework for thinking about them. He encourages us to be skeptical of conventional wisdom, to seek out hidden truths, and to have the courage to build new things even if they seem impossible at first.
We encourage you to explore 0 to 1 for yourself and see what resonates with you. What secrets are you ready to uncover? What 0 to 1 leaps are you ready to take?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep building it.